back in the day when everything was on-prem in your data center, you had complete control and flexibility. You didn't like something, you opened up Java or whatever, or C, and just you went to town, you started coding, and you had JavaScript and you just went and did what you wanted to do. And now you're ready. You get in the SaaS world, and the good news is, hey, it works, it's resilient, it's robust, much lower cost of ownership. You can deploy it very quickly, but you're giving up some of that flexibility.
All right, thank you so much for joining today with us on the never-ending climb to a stronger supply chain and procurement for those running SAP. We have Dave Maloney. He is one of the top leaders in SAP helping with the business technology platform. Dave, can you tell us a little bit about your background and your role at SAP?
Great, thanks, Sean. Yeah, hi. And so I'm Dave Maloney, and this is my 20th year at SAP. I shouldn't say that because it really has felt like I joined maybe a couple years ago. I've always been at SAP, had the ability to be involved in a lot of the innovative things we're doing. So I feel like I work at a big, well-funded startup in my role. Classically, I'm an engineer, and I came from the technical side, but more and more every day, I try to remind myself that delivering things like business value and outcomes is why I'm here. And I try to separate myself from the tech, but it's an exciting time. I love working with our tech. And since our launch of our cloud platform, the SAP Business Technology Platform, the innovation has been on fire. The acceleration of what we can deliver is just through the roof. And it's an exciting time. And I get the pleasure of working with all of our line of business teams. So from our procurement and intelligence spend team to finance to sales and marketing to supply chain and HR, I get to work with all the line of business people and bring innovation to them more consistently. So that's my role at SAP.
That's amazing. Can you tell us about some of the favorite problems that you've been able to solve?
I think when I think about favorite problems, to me the big things are around, first of all, I would say de-risking, right? Whenever people get into projects, whether it's a procurement project or a finance project, there's a lot of uncertainty. Scope might be a bit gray area. When you look into the future, if the project's a 3-month project or maybe a multi-year project, things can change. And the requirements at the start and as you get going down that journey, oftentimes can evolve. And customers want flexibility. They want to be nimble, and they want systems that are going to work. And at the end of the day, deliver the stated outcome, hopefully with a low cost of ownership. And that's, I think, really at the core of what business technology platform delivers. And I'll talk a bit about some specifics there and get in some of the details around things like clean core, resiliency that you hear a lot about in the headlines.
I love that. And because more and more organizations are moving to cloud-based solutions, there's RISE private cloud or folks that are running S4 on-premise, they've got a lot of that flexibility. But when you're talking about some of the things like the business network or some of the other pure public cloud solutions from SAP, you get what you get. You don't throw a fit. And if you don't like it, that to me, I think is where the right answer is to go look at some of the options around BTP, because you can extend that. Can you share a little more about how should somebody think about that? Because there's this legacy experience of it's either standard or it's custom, and that's pretty old school, and it doesn't really fit anymore. Can you share with the folks listening and watching, how would you invite them to think about a different set of questions to help them get more out of the SAP solution stack?
And you raise a great point. Back in the day when everything was on-prem in your data center, you had complete control and flexibility. You didn't like something, you opened up Java or whatever, or C, and you went to town, you started coding, and you had JavaScript and you just went and did what you wanted to do. And now you're ready. You get in the SaaS world, and the good news is, hey, it works, it's resilient, it's robust, much lower cost of ownership. You can deploy it very quickly, but you're giving up some of that flexibility. And that's where the business technology platform comes in. And what I used to say is like, hey, if it's good enough for us, it's probably going to be good enough for you. And what we've basically done is opened up our development architecture and environment for building things in the cloud to our customers. And the paradigm has shifted. We have a lot of power today to be able to do side-by-side customization, abstracting, and making things modular. And what this means is that the SAP solutions, the business network, Ariba, Fieldglass, they're going to have a certain scope, and it's going to be a great scope, and over time we're going to evolve it and get better, but we're only ever going to hit so much. And we provide the ability now to safely, without customizing the core, allow rapid innovation on the edges. And I think the best thing about, we'll talk about this here in a bit, is that our ecosystem of partners like Convergent IS and others have done a great job in finding some specific needs, like maybe in a certain geography, there might be a regulation in a province or a state or a country. There might be a certain requirement in a industry for automotive or regulated, or something that may come up where they have a unique requirement that maybe SAP is not going to address, or maybe it's something that makes your business different or is compelling differentiation. Business Technology Platform allows that side-by-side extension through APIs to allow you to rapidly innovate and deliver that capability. And sometimes it might just look like it's part of the product. And that's what's been most satisfying for me. And I've seen this again and again where customers came across a big problem they needed to have a solution for, and we actually could deliver it rapidly in the cloud, either through an existing partner innovation that's been made available via the SAP store, or something they could build themselves, and it becomes just, appears like it's part of the solution because the side-by-side extensions in the Business Technology Platform are so seamless when it comes to our software.
I love it. I think we've both come across examples of somebody that says, hey, Standard does this, and we're working with this systems integrator, this partner on the big implementation, and well, the default thought process is if it's not Standard, it's got to be custom. What would you invite customers to insert in that process? How can you help save them money? Because there's often extensions that if they're going to go build it, it's going to be millions of dollars to go build these extensions, even if it's built using new technology. There's no magic wand to go make really complex business software happen in a week. But what would you invite customers to do? What are most customers missing?
Yeah, you raise a great point. I would say, when I get involved with customers and we're talking to business leaders, we're diving in and we're putting the blinders on, we're going lower and lower and lower, trying to solve this one issue. First thing I say is, hey, take a step back, zoom out. Take a look at the broader business problem. How are you bringing together procurement, finance, supply chain, and those different things, right? When all those solutions have their own solutions in that area that are doing what they need. And, to an extent, you got a job to do. You have a certain requirement and you've got to deliver on that. And that's what you need to focus on. But, for part of your job, you got to take a look back and add things that aren't maybe, they're available out of the box. And what's been really helpful is giving customers that platform to do things consistently, so they can be very nimble and do things with a lower cost of ownership. To your point, you can build anything for millions of dollars if you have enough money, and you can just open up any technology or tool, from just writing software in low-level languages up to higher level, low-code tools, right? But I think what matters for business is across their enterprise having a lower cost of ownership and consistency. When I go to customers all the time, I'm like, well, show me what you're doing. They dive into what they're doing right there. I'm like, okay, let's take a look out. Let's broaden the picture here. Let's look across your entire enterprise. And very quickly, it becomes this very complicated thing with dozens or hundreds of boxes with lines between them, with information flowing, with user experiences and workflow and automation and bots, and all these things are happening. Like, wow, this is really getting complicated. And if we can come in and say, hey, we can solve that requirement, and what if for everything I put into your architecture, we're taking two or three things out? How's that sound? And maybe to the business leader, that's not so interesting. They just want to get what they want. And they want to do it. And it's like, great, we can meet your requirements. We can deliver on it. But when we do this, we can deliver greater simplicity. We can reduce cost of ownership. That's where I think IT and the business have a great relationship. When IT is able to deliver on the business needs, and they can simplify their architecture at the same time. They're coming from this very high cost of ownership legacy, on-premise architecture oftentimes, and they're moving to the cloud where they're getting lower cost of ownership. BTP allows them to have a lot of that same flexibility and resiliency and nimbleness in delivering value, but they can do it at a lower cost of ownership. That's the real cloud economics that customers are going after, and what BTP, the Business Technology Platform, brings to the line of business. And with all of our great ecosystem partners around the edges, finding these common areas within, again, geographies or industries, they can deliver some of that pre-built, integration or innovation out of the box, whether it's analytics or mobile apps or whatever, that deliver those things very quickly at a very low cost. And the key thing, though, is consistency. You don't want to be doing it differently everywhere you go and adding more boxes to your architecture. If you've made the decision to work with SAP, look at our tools. Look within the four walls of SAP, be it Ariba, Fieldglass, SuccessFactors, S4HANA, and our tools work great together. And they also work quite well with other non-SAP components that are part of your architecture. And that's the key. We are probably the best vendor that works with our hyperscaler partners, Google, Microsoft, AWS, and a couple others that are very tight with this. They use our software, we use their software. So if your organization has standardized on one of those hyperscalers or more of them, we work very well across them and have great partnerships there where our business application platform technology works well across those hyperscaler architectures.
I love that, Dave. We were sharing some stories before this recording about some folks that we know that went down this rabbit hole of, I want this, I've got this problem, I've got this gap, and here's what I found off the shelf. And they started spending hundreds of thousands or even a few $1,000,000 to go and try to close this gap. And it was going further and further and further down a rabbit hole. And you were sharing a story of a friend of yours. And I think it's just so perfect as the story that people can remember of where to insert something to go look somewhere. When you've stepped back and you've looked at the bigger problem, and you know that you've got a gap between SAP building 80% of what they're looking for, and I know Christian has been clear that a lot of the industry specific things are being handed over to partners for them to take care of. So when you run into one of those things that's just not out of the box, you could go and custom develop it. What would you want somebody to remember? Where do they need to go look?
Yeah, it's a great point, Sean. I mean, in a way, it's good in getting better. It's kind of a good problem to solve, but you hit on a key point there. It's like, we're going to do all we can to deliver great software, but we only have so many people at SAP that are delivering innovation all the time in different areas. We want to extend the capability and power we can deliver through our entire ecosystem. And if we get all of our ecosystem and SAP rowing in the same direction, we're going to deliver a heck of a lot more value for a lot lower cost. And to your point, when you come across a business requirement, and typically back in the old days, you call IT, you tell you have a thing, and all right, they put that, get in line, we'll deliver that innovation, we can get to it. And they basically talk to their developers and they build something, and either you customize the core of an application, and then you kind of had technical debt and you were stuck on that version until you could port your customization forward. Got very expensive, and it really slowed down the innovation capability. With modular development and APIs, you can do things a lot quicker that won't slow you down and give you that technical debt that you used to get on-prem. But what the story you're talking about was really interesting is, I had a good friend of mine worked with him for years. He was CIO of a large multinational company, and he was at his wit's end. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I have egg all over my face. I don't see a way forward. I think we're gonna have to keep investing. We have to code our way out of it, and it's not going to be a good solution. I'm like, what's the problem? And he talked to me about the issue and what they were doing. And they had, a certain partner who knew something very well, and they tried to deliver something to the entire enterprise. It was a global solution where they had different requirements at different geographies and tried to solve it with a one-size-fits-all capability. And they had the capability here in the core, but they couldn't extend it out to the different parts of the world. And so they tried to custom build it, and just all the requirements around the different employees who were in plants that didn't have access to PCs. It was a real challenge. And what the first thing I did is said, well, let's just take a look at the SAP store. Let's see if somebody has come across this problem before and what they may have done. And I think, what happens nowadays a lot is that it's so easy and fast now to customize in the cloud with BTP. Sometimes people get going too quickly. And I think it's okay maybe to get prototypes and wireframes and kind of use BTP to figure out what you want. But I always tell customers the first place you should go is go to the SAP store, search on that issue, and see if someone's come across it before. Because in this case, we found a diamond in the rough where someone had come across this problem and they had built a solution that was very robust. It just seemed it was part of the solution. It worked on mobile devices. It worked on browsers. It was absolutely a slam dunk. And we turned that problem into a shining success for the CIO. And his only complaint at the end was like, man, I wish I would have gone to the SAP store first and searched for that. It would have saved me months of time and a lot of money, and I would have got a better solution faster. So all's well that ends well. That person learned a valuable lesson. I sure hope I can pass that lesson along, that a lot of the innovation, Sean, that you and Convergent IS and other partners are doing and putting up on the SAP store, or maybe also documenting through the Business Technology Platform Discovery Center in Missions. Those are the two sites. And I just got to make a plug for it. If you go to sap.com/disco, or you go to the SAP store, you will find so many pre-built innovations that are ready to go for your industry, geography, whatever the case might be. And I highly recommend that be your first place you go to find something if SAP doesn't deliver it out of the box. I mean, I know you guys have done a lot with your procurement gateway, and that's a great example where customers can find something where it extends the value of their existing investment, in this case, the business network, or maybe they want to kind of an on-ramp to get started and need something quick and simple that provides part of the requirements. But when they really want to go for a more broad capability, there's so much on the store that can quickly be taken off. And I'll make one more comment, not to get too technical on architecture. The reason why the SAP store is so valuable is it builds things on the business technology platform. And what that gives customers the ability to do is through a single architecture, get all this capability. So it's kind of like a hub and a spoke, whether it's an integration or an analytic or a mobile app, it's, the platform is there once, you've invested in it, and then to add incremental value is so easy versus having redundant versions of platforms from different vendors all over the place. You're going to have to maybe have a couple different things, but the business technology platform that comes with your underlying SAP solutions allows you that platform to innovate. It's up there, it's available. Then you incrementally can add more value for a very low cost at a very great speed.
I love it. I love it, Dave. I know there's a company. If I turn and look over my shoulder, I can see their building, and they had this challenge where the way IT spend and budget decisions were made was really pushed far into the business, and IT over several years lost the ability to provide some of that architectural guidance. And for just about everybody that's listening to this, they're probably running the SAP ERP system, either ECC or S4. And if anybody's ever gone into the finance space and tried to argue with SAP about what the tax rate on something is, I mean, it's about as useful as me trying to discuss with my wife what kind of tile is going to go in the kitchen. Or if you've ever tried to argue with Apple about the terms and conditions, at the end of the day, you're going to scroll down and press I agree. And, they ended up with the business buying this third-party tax system, and it was totally outside, and well-intentioned, but unfortunately, it started to argue with SAP about what the tax rate needed to be on a bunch of invoices and journal entries. And I can tell you, that's just a world of pain waiting to happen. And, when you think about something that's supposed to help, but because you're trying to wire some stuff together and it's just not meant to be wired, you're not meant to argue with SAP about the tax rate, it just creates a world of hurt. And I think it's the same idea that I'm hearing from you is when you're looking at how you put together the solution that's really going to work, when you're looking at something that you're running off that SAP core, there's things that it's designed to do, let it do it. And sometimes you don't love the way it's done, but there's probably a really good reason for it because it's needed for these other 12 things. And when we're helping customers on that journey of helping to find the right thing, when we can help them find something that works and plays really well with it instead of argues with it, it just saves so much time and money and effort and heartache and so on. I really, really appreciate this, Dave. Are there some closing thoughts that you would want to leave with folks as they're thinking about, some folks are thinking about like, what is BTP or how do I think about it? There's enough folks that are kind of early in this to think about what should I think about BTP as? And it's, it's not one thing, like there's 130 some odd things inside it. So what would you encourage somebody to think about if you wanted them to remember one thing about BTP 6 weeks from now?
Yeah. To me, BTP, number one, it de-risks your implementation. Okay. That's the number one thing. Where BTP sits alongside, you're going to have requirements outside of it. It's going to meet those up front where you can plan for them. But during your project, if something unknown comes up, which invariably will always happen over time, there'll be some business event, some industry event, some corporate event, something's going to happen. And BTP gives you that flexibility to be able to, deal with that situation on the fly. You can do things very quickly, get a quick and dirty solution, address it and move forward. Or you might want to look on the store or something to get something ready to go, but it de-risks your solution. The second thing it does, it gives you more value for your existing investment. Right? BTP is driving simplicity through reusability and modularity and all those buzzy things out there and keeping your core clean. But it really helps you. You made this investment that, to your point, in SAP, whether it's ERP or Ariba or the business network, BTP is going to allow you to get more value out of that investment and keep you on SAP's roadmap. So going forward, you're not going to code yourself off in the corner. Rather, you're going to work with great advisors like ConversionIS, have you do things the right way so that you continue to get value out of your investment today and meet your needs. And then you're going to be future-proofed about things that are going to happen down the road that we don't even know about yet. And that's what SAP is doing with BTP.
Amazing. It's like that teamwork. And you want to have the right team working together. And if these technologies were a team, these are designed to work in team and help each other out. So Dave, thank you so very much. I appreciate having you on the show. And let's help more people on their never-ending climb to a stronger supply chain, stronger procurement. Thanks so much, Dave.
Enjoy it. Take care.